in the Soviet Union. For more, let's rejoin Mike Adamley. Mike?
Thank you, Roger, and welcome to the event center here at San Jose State University for the USSR Gymnastics. First rotation, that has been completed. Oksana Chusovitina of the Soviet Union has the lead with a 9.975 in the vault, but Kim Zmeskal and Betty Okino of the United States are tied for second. Both had 9.950s on the uneven bars. Now let's turn our attention to one of the favorites here, all-around champion at the Goodwill Games, 16-year-old Natalia Kalinina of the Soviet Union.
And with Kim Zmeskal just performing a 9.95 balance beam routine, there's a lot of pressure on Natalia. This is a good event for her. She has been very consistent throughout the competition. And obviously, gold medalist at the Goodwill Games. She begins with what is called a straddle over. She has great swing. Never has a form break. Beautiful. Oh, there's a big break. Big break. That will probably cost her 2 to 3/10 of a point. Large knee bend there. She takes such risks on this event. And when you take that kind of risk, there's much more room for error. Big break there on the ending. Not a great way to perform an uneven bar routine. 2 major breaks.
Not the Natalia we are accustomed to seeing, but Bart, you mentioned that sometimes one of her problems, consistency.
Well, it's interesting, you know, right before we came to us live, the meet was very hot. All the routines were right on. I don't know what happened here. She just opened up a hair early. And of course, the Soviets have been here a couple of weeks. It's been a very difficult time for them with the Goodwill Games and an exhibition the other day in Portland. Perhaps they're a little tired. This is certainly an advantage for the U.S. team.
Well, hi again, everyone. I'm Mike Adamley, along with Bart Connor and Kathy Reeve-McCoy, and it's no secret, no surprise here, the Soviet team, rich in depth, rich in talent, but one of the stars, the dominating presence, is missing. Svetlana Boginskaya is not here. She traveled with the team, but she will not compete. Why?
Well, there have been rumors that Svetlana planned to retire after the Goodwill Games. Those rumors have not been substantiated. However, the Soviet coaches have opted to give the younger gymnasts the opportunity to compete for a little more international experience. Now, Svetlana's presence today will be missed by those who appreciate the dramatic artistry she brings to the sport, and she certainly has the biggest name in the sport. But the facts are that her standards were somewhat subpar at the Goodwill Games, and it was one of her teammates that won the all-around and not Svetlana.
Well, we just saw that teammate of hers on the uneven bars, Natalia Kalinina. She doesn't have the same style as Svetlana, but she may be every bit as good, Kathy.
Well, ultimately she could be better. She has had a lot of breaks today, but in the Soviet system, when one of the stars begins to fade, another is right behind. In fact, there is a continuum of young potential world and Olympic champions, and each one is capable of beating the other at any time.
Bart, last year at this dual meet between the Soviets and the Americans, Brandy Johnson was the all-around champion. She elected not to compete here this year. She is still a member of our national team, but I get the feeling that the United States this afternoon is still in some very capable hands.
Absolutely, and it's a meet like this that actually provides a very interesting opportunity for the U.S. team. Very little to lose because the Soviets are heavy favorites and everything to gain. We saw in 1987, Christy Phillips. She won the gold in this meet, and then last year, Brandy Johnson got the gold in the all-around. That certainly helped their name recognition and their international credibility. Certainly, Kim Zmeskal has an opportunity to do the same thing here today. She had a good performance in the Goodwill Games. She's off to a great start today in both of her first 2 events, the bars and the balance beam. And I really believe that, as we know in a sport like gymnastics that's subjectively judged, that name recognition and international credibility counts for everything. And I really feel in this situation here, I noticed the girls were a little down coming into the meet, but this very intimate crowd here, 5,000 people, they're really pumped up, and it seems like the U.S. girls have a very good chance to really press the Soviets.
Well, in addition to Kim Zmeskal and Betty Okino and Natalia Kalinina, that we will be seeing some new faces this afternoon, but by the time the Olympics roll around in 1992, they could very well be household names. And we'll return with more of the USSR gymnastics competition after this message and a word from our sponsors.
Are we late?
Welcome back to San Jose, California. Here are the standings in the all-around competition after 2 rotations, and Kim Zmeskal of the United States, 14 years old from Houston, Texas, has taken the lead. Her score 19.9. She is followed by Oksana Chusovitina of the Soviet Union. This is Tatiana Gutsu on the balance beam, third rotation.
And so far, she's working very well. Only 13 years old, and when you're talking about this kind of international experience, it's so beneficial to them.
What I find, Kathy, so remarkable is that even at just 13 years old, she has probably the most difficult routines in the competition.
She and her teammate Groshkova truly take an incredible amount of risks, especially on this event. Now, in some of her dance moves, she doesn't have quite the finesse of her older teammates, but she will get that soon with the experience she's gaining. A little bit flat-footed there. Great dismount, full-in double back after 2 back handsprings. That's difficulty.
Well, Kathy, no less an authority than Svetlana Boginskaya calls Tatiana Gutsu the Soviet star of the future, and one of the reasons she says is that she has a great aptitude for learning.
Well, you know, you learn more easily at a younger age. You're not so fearful, and that's probably one of the reasons, but she exemplifies that.
Boy, what dismount. Back handsprings through to a full twisting double back, and once again, typical of the Soviets, they press the level of difficulty at an early age so that as these girls mature, they have an opportunity to really become comfortable with these very high-level, complex routines.
But one of the things they also stress is form, which is so important.
Next up in the floor exercise, 13-year-old Hillary Grivich. She was in 8th place after 2 rotations.
She began in Houston and moved to Huntsville, Texas. Commutes 1 hour, beautiful full-in double back. Not as high as some of the other athletes in the competition, but very steady there. Actually similar to style Kim Zmeskal, her teammate.
Good start on the uneven bar. She had a 9.75. She had a 9.85 on the balance beam, and I think she surprised herself with her dismount there.
Well, she seems to be very consistent in competition. A good team player. 1.5 step out, double twist. Wonderful tumbling run.
Hillary, the current United States junior champion. As we look at Tatiana Gutsu in the lower left-hand portion of your screen, she scored a 9.90 on the balance beam.
Once again, with many of the younger gymnasts, the ones young to international experience, you'll see that they're lacking just a little bit in flair, amplitude, but many of them have the great difficulty, as Hillary double tuck, stepping back there just a little bit, fell out of it, over-rotated, but a good routine.
We were watching Hillary in the training sessions in the last couple of days, and she was having plenty of trouble with her tumbling runs. I think she's pretty pleased with that performance because she over-rotated her last tumbling run here on the double back, and we've talked so many times about how important that landing is. It's the last thing that the judges see, and you have to show the ultimate in control.
When we talk about experience too, Bart, over-rotation comes from overzealousness, a little bit off on the timing.
Hillary waiting for a score in the floor exercise. This is Natalia Lishenova of the Soviet Union.
She is a wonderful gymnast. Starts out with a front flip mount. Very difficult, dangerous move as far as just landing on that balance beam and landing without bobbling. Her maturity in the sport. She's so beautiful to watch. Great flair. Perfect example of what the judges are looking for. Watch this flexibility. Great toe point. Here's her gymnastic series or dance series, one of the requirements on the balance beam. Interesting, very simple move of front roll there. One of the first things you learn when you're working on the balance beam at the young age of 5, 6, 7 years old.
Incidentally, the score for Hillary Grivich in the floor exercise, 9.75.
One of the things that's so nice to watch about Lashenova is her expressive arm movements and wrist movements. Everything is accented. And her dismount. Double tuck. Solid routine. Not some of the difficulty of the younger gymnasts, but so solid, so clean. The dance is really lovely.
She's so powerful that she's had problems in the past of just flying off the apparatus because she completely bounces out of a backflip or one of the layouts or through her series of back handsprings. But she really has matured, and she's a lot calmer and a lot better in competition.
And we'll return with more of the USSR gymnastics competition after this message and a word from our sponsors. There's an individual all-around title at stake here in San Jose, but also the team competition as well. And here are the standings after 2 rotations. The United States trails the Soviet Union.
Next up on balance beam.
We turn our attention now to the balance beam and Tatiana Groshkova. Tatiana was 8th after 2 rotations.
And mainly that's due to consistency. It's a real problem with Tatiana. If she hits, she truly has some of the most difficulty and exquisite routines of anyone. Look at that move. Look at the flexibility. Unfortunately, her mental game can't compare to her athletic abilities. Look at those leaps. So split, 180 degrees or more. I believe she's getting ready for a back handspring. Full twist.
Right on.
Absolutely exquisite and so tough. That balance beam is only 4 inches wide. You're flipping and twisting at the same time. Now watch this flexibility move.
Ouch.
She's getting ready for a move now that really should be named after her. After she does a gainer here, she will line herself up sideways. Watch this. She will do a back handspring into another back handspring to her stomach. Just in case you don't believe it. Right now she has to be very confident, but not overconfident for this dismount. Really has to hold on to the ending. Full twisting double back. If that doesn't receive a 10, I don't know what will.
An electrifying performance by Tatiana Groshkova. Getting the hug from her teammates.
Kathy, there's no question that the level of difficulty in this routine is probably the best in the world. Notice that move sideways on the balance beam, a back handspring, and then she sets up to do this move, a Yurchenko, which is a back handspring around and then a roll below the beam.
And you really have to undercut on that particular move. Once again, because that beam is so narrow.
And this is a terrific angle to see exactly how precarious this move is.
Oh.
Not a lot of room for error there.
Call it spotter back handsprings. And then, of course, her incredible flexibility, which is...
9.5.
Well, Kathy, her score, it wasn't a perfect 10, but not bad, 9.95.
Not bad at all, but for all that difficulty, that's a pretty amazing routine. And
next up in the floor exercise from the United States, 15-year-old Amy Shear.
And Amy is somewhat of a European style, clean lines, dramatic. Hasn't really had her best meet yet. She's been plagued by a few injuries. Let's see how she performs her opening tumbling run. Oh, it's a little bit out of line there. Full twisting back handspring. Had a little trouble in practice on that move. Cost her 1/10 of a point. As you can see, the music accenting every move. A required change of pace and her second tumbling run. They must have at least 3. Very clean double pike. Moved away at the age of 12 in 1987 to train with Bella. Fortunately, her parents are with her now. And here's her best tumbling run. Needs lots of endurance here. Double tuck, a little bit low, a few bobbles, but not bad.
The performance of Amy Shear, whose rise to stardom has been hampered somewhat by a series of nagging stress fractures that she has suffered.
Right.
Amy told us yesterday that she's allergic to milk, and doctors think that maybe that lack of calcium is directly direct result of some of those stress fractures.
Her tumbling elements were very high. She has a terrific takeoff position when she reaches for the opening tumbling run, the full twisting double back in the pike position, and her tumbling was clean and high, just a little sloppy on the landings, and we've talked so many times about how critical those landings are.
And we understand that Soviet trainers have been looking at the right ankle of Oksana, or rather Tatiana Groshkova. Could it have been that dismount in the balance beam?
Well, it could be just about anything with all the pounding they take, and as you mentioned, stress fractures and just stress-related disorders. It could be just about anything. It could be the simplest move.
Well, this is Oksana Chusovitina, second after the second rotation on the beam.
And this angle gives you a great view of that front flip and just how straight her shoulders, hips, and legs have to be as she performs the salto or the flip. Here's her gymnastics series. She has been so tough in this competition, led coming out of the blocks on the first event. This is where it is just so amazing, the depth of the Soviet team, that at any one time one could beat the other. Down off back layout. A little bit low on that. I've seen her do it higher in practice. You can see the concentration. She looks towards the end of that beam. There's an aerial walkover, just raised in value because less of the gymnasts were doing that particular move, and it was so graceful they wanted them to put it back in.
It's kind of nice to see that move again, isn't it?
Yes. Again, required full turn, and you see that she didn't bobble on it, but she was very careful at the end there. And many times the easier moves, the dance moves, are more difficult than the really difficult acrobatic movements. And a double back turn ending. Good routine, good solid exercise.
Nadia Cohen-East likes it. And we'll be back with more of the USSR gymnastics competition after this message. One of the interested spectators here at this USSR gymnastics meet, Svetlana Boginskaya, winner of the all-around championship at the 1990 European Championships. As we mentioned earlier, the Soviets' marquee name, Svetlana, is not competing here today. Coach is opting to give her some of the younger team members the benefit of international competition in hopes of finding the next Boginskaya. Beauty and elegance. Those will be Svetlana Boginskaya's gifts to gymnastics. There was a time, however, when a 14-year-old Boginskaya was similar to her teammates of today, a young gymnast struggling to make her mark. She began to blossom at the 1987 World Championships, earning a bronze medal on the balance beam. But it was at the 1988 Olympic Games that she established herself as a star, claiming a bronze medal in the all-around and a gold in the vault. The retirement of Olympic champion Elena Shushanova made Boginskaya the grande dame of Soviet gymnastics. In 1989, she proved worthy of that title. She won the all-around at the European Championships and again at the World Championships. By the dawn of a new decade, Boginskaya was clearly the best gymnast in the world, and clearly a young woman competing against little girls. But the long, elegant lines that set her apart are now becoming a liability. And at the age of 17, she is contemplating retirement. If she hands her crown to one of the tumbling tots who place acrobatics above elegance, gymnastics will still have been made richer by her reign.
Next up for the USA team on floor is...
Well, Kathy and Bart, we talked to Svetlana several days ago, and she said that she really has in the back of her mind competing in 1992. What about it?
Well, I think motivation is the name of the game in this sport. There's so many young ones coming up, the new elements they do on the apparatus. The one thing she has, though, is that experience and that flair and polish that you just can't teach somebody at a real young age.
Well, it'd be wonderful to see her next year at the World Championships and also in the Olympics in Barcelona. And we'll be back with more of our gymnastics coverage right after this. Before this dual meet competition began, it was Natalia Kalinina of the Soviet Union, but after a very unsatisfactory routine in the uneven parallel bar, she finds herself 11th after 2 rotations, Kathy. Now she's up
on the most precarious of all events, the balance beam. And it's very tough for a gymnast anymore to stay on top all the time. And as Bart mentioned earlier, there could be some fatigue involved here. This is a tough event. She has not had her momentum going for her so far, but let's see if she can get it together on this. A round off right to a back handspring onto the balance beam. As we mentioned earlier, it takes such amazing concentration. Full twisting back handspring. You can really tell when a gymnast is on. There's just a spark about them, and it's a little bit lacking here. It's clean, it's good, the lines are nice, the difficulty is there, but just not quite the, as I said, the spark. A little bit slower movement. That was her gymnastic acro series, one of the requirements, where they do gymnastics and acrobatic. Gymnastics meaning dance and acrobatics meaning tumbling. As you can see, everything seems a little bit labored. 2 back handsprings to allow. No major flaws. It would be more of a general deduction, general impression deduction. Not to say that this is not a good routine, because it is, just not up to her level at the Goodwill Games.
Her dismount will be a full twisting double.
Just a little step. You really have to stand up very high in the vertical position when you take off for that particular move, so that you can see the ground coming up.
9.95.
Natalia won the beam competition at the Goodwill Games. That was one of her 4 gold medals that she had harvested there in Seattle. And now Kim Zmeskal, 3rd rotation again. She is currently the leader. She needs better than 9.80 to move in front of Lishenova to hold on to 1st place.
And this is a wonderful event for her. She truly does have the spark today. She doesn't seem to be tired, as we thought she would be, because of practice. And here's her very first tumbling run, full in double back. Landed very well. Oh, it's so encouraging to have that crowd behind you. Watch this. Always gets a reaction from the crowd.
This tumbling sequence coming up is one of her more spectacular runs. She's going to do 3 whip backs through to a double back.
And the speed and power behind that really gives her the height at the end of that double pike. I think she feels she's on her way home at this point. She received a 9.95 in the all-around competition at the Goodwill Games on this event. Well on her way to receiving another one. Very nice routine.
Bella Caroli says she's a sleeping cat with a tiger's soul. And she is tough, I'll tell you.
This tumbling run is always a crowd pleaser. She's going to do 3 whips, whip, which is like a back handspring, or a very low back flip, through to a back handspring, through to a tuck double back. Terrific combination tumbling.
And at this point in the gymnastics season, the gymnasts have to be able to block pain out of their mind. At the Goodwill Games, Kim was hampered by tendonitis in both her wrist and ankle.
And Mike, she was being very cautious in practice and really didn't have a good warm-up session the last couple of days, or practice sessions. And she really, truly is a tough competitor, tough internally as well.
I think it has something to do with the atmosphere here. People are really pumped up in this building, and the kids are really responding to it. You know, we talked to them the other day, and they were all talking about going on vacation and getting away from gymnastics for a little while. They're tired. They're really pumped up today.
Well, Kim scored 9.975. You know, the United States produced all-around champions in 1987 and 1989 in Brandy Johnson. Maybe Kim Zmeskal will be the next one. We'll have the fourth rotation for you shortly, but right now let's return to Roger Twyble in New York.
Thanks, Mike. We'll have more gymnastics.
Women as dominant as ever. They lead after 3 rotations in this dual meet. However, in the all-around standings, Kim Zmeskal of the United States has the lead and is in great shape to win an all-around title. She'll be up in the final and fourth rotation in the vault. You know, she lives on the same street as Bella's Gym in Houston, and she took to the sport instantly. Just 14, she has her sights on the World Championships next year. Is all the training worth it? You bet. Summer afternoons at the shopping mall, where most 14-year-old girls practice being teenagers. But for Kim Zmeskal, practice means long, rigorous days in the gym. A sacrifice? Yes, but already well worth it. This March, she won the all-around title at the American Cup, following in the footsteps of Natalia and Mary Lou. 2 other gymnasts Bella Caroli turned into stars.
We have usually about a 3-hour workout in the morning, and then in the school year we go to school from 11 to 2:30, and then we go back to the gym at 4:30 until about 8, and then afterwards we have to do our homework. We don't usually talk very much in the gym. You have to stay concentrated, and we're in the gym for so long. You know, we always have to stay concentrated in what we're doing when most people are just out doing some, you know, playing around and stuff. And it helps, I think it helps me in school a lot too, because it makes me more serious to know that I have to do it.
We are strict and sturdy during the workout schedule, and that's the only way to pass some limits. We are talking about passing human limits of the human effort. So what other people would consider so a major sacrifice, no, that's a pride. They have the excitement of improving, of competing, and all these major satisfactions together, and really brings a happy life. They are happy kids. They are people I wish most of the kids in the world can have at least a little bit of the satisfaction what they are going through almost every day.
We are missing out on some things, but there's also a lot of things that the people that aren't gymnasts are also missing out on. Like, we get to go on a lot of trips, and we get to meet a whole lot of people. It's just, I don't know, I don't know how it is really anymore, how it would be to be a normal person. But, you know, I like what I'm doing, otherwise I wouldn't be doing it.
And Kim's coach, Bella Caroli, he's reluctant to make comparisons, Kathy, but she says Kim at the same age has the same body type and power as Mary Lou and the same focus and power of concentration as Nadia.
Well, and also the incredible concentration that has paid off over this whole year when she's been in meet after meet under an incredible amount of pressure.
This is Natalia Lashenova of the Soviet Union. She is currently in 2nd place.
Music by Grieg in the Cave of the King. She begins with a double layout. As Bart, you mentioned earlier, has some of the most power and height of anyone in the competition. Right into a back handspring. She continues to move. Wonderful combination tumbling series here. You always have a sense that she's having a good time out there. Very tough move for the 2nd run. They usually use that on the 1st run because it's so difficult. Pulls that double back around in the cowboy position. What do you think, Bart? First 10 in the meet?
Well, I think they're going to make a deduction on their landing and the cowboy on that last double back. But otherwise, as you mentioned, the tumbling was very, very difficult and so clean. And the technique is absolutely perfect, especially on the opening tumbling sequence.
Talk about steady improvement. Lishenova was 5th in the all-around in the '88 Olympics. She won the silver medal last year behind Svetlana Boginskaya at the World Championships, and here she displays, she has a chance to win the all-around title.
I think what is most impressive, she's a real team leader. She's calm in the gym.
We're going to move over
Here,
to
of course,
now,
Kim
first
Zmeskal.
vault for 14-year-old Kim
On the vault,
Zmeskal.
she'll get 2. They'll score the best one.
Kim's had a problem with that wrist at the Goodwill Games. It was a big problem. Notice the wrist pad that she has on her left-handed wrist. It's caused her trouble in this event because she can't block as well as she needs to on the horse.
There's so much speed required as you come into the horse, and that really puts a lot of pressure. Although she lays it out well, excellent vault. She has 2 chances, and she would probably take that one. It's very good. She could go a little bit higher, possibly, Bart.
An idea you slow down. Just an idea was slower than supposed to. But let's try the second one. Stronger, more speed.
One of the things that he's telling her about is she's slowing down before she gets to the board just a little bit, and that's probably because she's trying to place her hands so accurately on the floor to get the good timing and position on the horse.
The technique is so nice how she jets her arms to the sides to show off that she finishes the twist as early as she does.
Well, here's the situation for Kim Zmeskal if she's going to win the all-around title. Natalia Lishenova scored a 9.925 in the floor exercise, so Kim Zmeskal scored a 9.90. Can we say it yet? Well, that'll put her ahead of Natalia Lishenova. She needed a 9.75, and her first vault was a 9.9. So Kim in very great position right now.
She really can go for broke on this vault. Once again, the Yurchenko full twist, lays it out, and a perfect landing.
I believe that's our first 10 for the day. I really feel it'll happen. The atmosphere is so exciting here.
Oh, my God. I'm proud of you. Maybe my way. I'm proud of other way. Good job. Wait the public.
More than anything, her mental abilities are what champions are made out of.
There it is. It's a 10 for this vault, and you can see clean form. She gets her arms to the side, and she doesn't budge at all.
And
Well,
a standing ovation.
Why not? The perfect 10 means no one can beat her. She has won the all-around title.
We saw it happen to Christy Phillips. We saw it happen to Brandy Johnson. This is a very important moment for Kim Zmeskal to beat many of the best Soviets in gymnastics currently.
Ladies and gentlemen, on floor
We'll be back with more of our coverage after this. Moments ago, the crowd here at the Recreation and Event Center at San Jose State University was abuzz because Kim Zmeskal scored a perfect 10 in her final rotation and her event, the vault, to wrap up the all-around title. It was really something special, Kathy and Bart.
Well, it was magnificent, and we mentioned earlier that she's come off meet after meet, won almost all of them. She's getting ready to go on a vacation. She has to be incredibly happy about that mark and this all-around competition championship.
Kim Zmeskal right now watching her teammate Betty Okino compete in the vault, and from the looks of that reaction, she liked Betty's effort, but this was the vault that earned Kim the perfect score.
And she has really done a terrific job in compensating for the injury in her left wrist. She gets a very good block on the horse. Notice the hand position. She reaches in, good, strong push.
Our next competitor up.
Can't do it much better than that.
The all-around title at the Goodwill Games with a perfect 10 on floor exercise. The only
And what's the coach think of it?
Goodwill Games, the first 10 ever. Would you welcome Natalia Kalinina?
The patented Bella Caroli bear hug.
You know, he yells, he screams, he cajoles, but he has genuine affection for these youngsters that he coaches. And now this is Natalia Kalinina of the Soviet Union in the floor exercise. She was 11th after 3 rotations.
And although she has not had a great competition here, it begins with a double layout. She did receive the first 10 ever last week at the Goodwill Games. And one thing that everyone mentioned was she was so able to capture the attention of the crowd and the imagination of the crowd during that time. Now watch this tumbling run. Great combination tumbling run here. Full in, back handspring, and she just continues. From a lyrical style into kind of a modern jazz style. Now if her endurance is there, she will end with a full-in double back, as we've mentioned many times, so tough. And she nails it. You can see why she receives 10s a little bit late for this competition, but a great gymnast nonetheless.
Well, very few gymnasts can stick a landing in the floor exercise the way Natalia Kalinina can. Again, she had a poor performance in the uneven bars, but finishes up strongly here in the floor exercise. Well, we mentioned that some of the famous charges that Bella Caroli had, Coach, his very first, the great Nadia Comaneci, who had a few 10s in her day. Bart's with her right now. Bart?
Well, there's no question that Nadia Comaneci changed the sport of gymnastics forever, scoring the first perfect 10. Do you feel there's too many 10s given these days?
So in 1980 at the Olympic Games, they gave more 10s, but now they just give for the perfect routine.
Well, we just got another 10, and the Americans have really come on strong here. How do you feel about someone like Kim Zmeskal? She's really getting in the top of her form.
At this competition, she was really good. I love her, and I am sure that she made a mistake at the Goodwill Games, but now I don't think that she will do any mistake from now. She's a great gymnast, and I think that she will become a champion fast.
Well, with the World Championships next year in Indianapolis and the Olympic Games coming up, do you expect that the Americans should be strong contenders?
Yeah, the American will be strong and will be a danger for the Soviet team.
Do you think they can twist your arm to come in and help perhaps coach the U.S. team by then?
Me? Yes, why not?
Well, we're delighted to have you here, Nadia.
Thank you very much.
Mike?
Thanks, Bart. Nadia looking wonderful. Of course, that perfect 10 scored by Natalia Kalinina of the Soviet Union as we look at Amy Shear of the United States. 8th after this third rotation, I believe.
And once again, she is performing the ever popular Yurchenko full twisting vault. Great thing about everyone doing this particular vault, the judges have the opportunity to really compare.
She's already had one vault in her first score, 9.90.
And she did tie for third at the Goodwill Games on this event. What is most impressive is her upper body strength, her arm strength. Great definition. Once again, building speed right here, forcing those hands down. Good position, a little bit of hop on the end there. A little sigh of, I wish I would have stuck that.
But again, Kathy, maybe the most important thing, the international experience that all these gymnasts are getting here.
Absolutely. You know, you don't know how you're going to feel under stress and under pressure, especially at this level against the Soviet gymnasts. And you can't beat this kind of experience.
This is Oksana Chusovitina in third place, tied for third after 3 rotations. She's up in the floor exercise.
We saw her
Amy
nail
Shear's
this
second
routine.
vault, was another 9.90, so that's the score she gets.
And Mike, we saw her nail this routine a little more than a month ago up in Salt Lake at the Olympic Cup to win the all-around. She's very exciting on floor exercise.
Once again, she does the double layout. Now, she really gets a fast whip over on the first backflip and a little higher on the second one. And I love this combination tumbling that they're doing. So exquisite, so dynamic. You almost think she's going to take a third run.
Oksana needs a score of 9.95 to tie Natalia Lishenova for second place in the all-around picture.
is now a full-in double back. The abundance of difficulty is amazing. Now, right now, I think she'll go into what's called a Shushanova in a minute. Right there, right to the prone position. She will be awarded bonus points for that. And again, just in case you have any doubts, here comes her last tumbling run. Double pike.
Sensational performance by Oksana Chusovitina. We'll be back with more after this. Around competition, the winner, Kim Zmeskal of the United States. Oksana Chusovitina of the Soviet Union recorded the third perfect 10 of the afternoon in her floor exercise routine. But right now, here's Bart with Kim.
Kim, congratulations on a terrific competition. What were you thinking before you went down to do the vault, knowing you had to score a 10?
Well, first of all, I didn't even know I had to score a 10. I don't keep up with the scores very much, but I just knew I could do the vault, and I went and I did it as well as I could.
Now, you've had a tough year. Some injuries, ankle, you've had a problem with your wrist. Now you got a little time off. What are you going to do on your vacation?
Well, mainly just rest, you know, my arm and my leg, and hope that it's better when I come back.
Well, congratulations on a terrific victory here today for the U.S. team. They did very well. The Soviets win the team competition. You win the all-around against some of the best Soviets in the world. And that's it from San Jose and the U.S. Olympic Challenge. Here, the U.S. versus the USSR. Let's go back to New York and Roger Twibel.